Alright guys, hope you're all keeping safe and hope you're all staying indoors. Yesterday it was Thursday, and here in the UK at 8 PM everyone goes out to their doors and they clap for essential workers. There's fireworks, we've got a trombone player down here where I live. It's actually pretty special. So I'm not a holy man, but God bless all essential workers in the world. Now today I've got some news to talk about, which includes a confirmed new Dark Zone coming, stealth nerfs, more raid info and more. If you enjoyed this one, drop a like down below, subscribe for Division content, and let's begin. Okay, so I want to start off with the news of a new Dark Zone coming in the future, which has been confirmed at this point. I say confirmed, it's not been confirmed by the actual developers, but you'll see what I mean. David Schultz, an expert environment artist at Redstorm, posted some artwork on Twitter showing their work on some of the previous PvP maps. When the question was asked, will we be getting another bigger, beautiful DZ question mark, to which David responded saying, yeah, I can't say anything, but I expect the next DZ will be impressive. Now this almost definitely confirms that a new Dark Zone is coming in the future. I hope this means we're going to get a Dark Zone in New York City, a bigger one rather than just smaller DZ that we've got in Washington. I think it's pretty obvious that we're probably going to get something like this anyway, so this doesn't come as a big surprise. It's just the first time we've actually heard anyone within kind of the developers, working on the game essentially, that have said anything about it. Now, William Maisret on Twitter posted this image saying, I think we have entry points to the new DZ in the game already. This is from Battery Park along the northern edge of the map. Now you'd be forgiven for looking at this image and thinking this was taken from the Division, the first one, because it almost mirrors the exact environment, because it's in NYC, and to be honest it's pretty exciting. Now I have no idea how big this might be. I've looked at NYC and where this currently is, but there's just no real clues as to how big this Dark Zone will be. I really hope it's a big one. New content like Dark Zones, for example, they are great, but, and this is a big but, if PvP does not get a serious overhaul, then it's kind of all for nothing. Now I'm not going to pretend that I know how bad PvP is, because I've not played PvP for months in this game, but I've seen the posts, I've seen the videos, and it's quite possibly the worst it's ever been, if that's even possible. Now PvP requires a huge balancing pass immediately. That is the main issue right now with PvP. The devs recently reverted the M1A nerf for PvE, but they nerfed the M1A by 20% in PvP, which, when I heard about this on State of the Game on Wednesday, I thought it was a good thing. But that just shows how out of touch I am with PvP right now, and I think a lot of people. I knew that backpack talents didn't work in PvP, and that was actually recently fixed, meaning that with backpack talents now working, giving you up to 25% extra damage, and the M1A only being nerfed by 20%, if you go into PvP now, the M1A can be up to 5% stronger than before TU9. It's not a buff because they've obviously just fixed the backpack talents, but in terms of what you can actually do in PvP, it does feel like the M1A has actually received a slight buff in PvP. That 40% should have probably stayed with the M1A, and I've seen reports of people saying that even with that 40% and those backpack talents now being fixed, that's only actually a 15% nerf if you consider 25% from the backpack talents, and that's still not enough. The devs, unfortunately, they appear to be out of touch with PvP, and this brings up an age-old recommendation with the Division when we were all playing that game, and that is, should the Dark Zone be PvE only? Now don't rush to dislike this video. This isn't my recommendation. I was always kind of against the idea of a PvE Dark Zone, although I could see why people might want it. Part of me just thinks at the end of the day, if you can give it to everyone, why not? That's kind of where I'm at. But this is something I've seen people talking about on Twitter and on the forums, and I just wanted to revisit that. I guess the further question to this is also, should the Division 2 be PvE only? Again, this is something people have been talking a lot about with PvP being so broken. I'll probably tackle both of these topics in future videos, but I would like your comments to this below, please. So, should the Division 2 be PvE only? And also, if they are going to have a new Dark Zone, should it be PvE only? I'll have a poll on my community tab at some point as well. So yeah, let me know. Alright, so moving on, we've been given some extra information on the Foundry, which is the second raid that should be coming out before June 1st. They said on Wednesday's State of the Game it's the spring of the Northern Hemisphere, and when I put that into Google, that was from March 1st to June 1st, so I presume it's before June 1st. Now, I'm going to show you the raid text that I was put up on Twitter. I believe it's in game at the moment that you can read, and it says, "Coming soon. When I landed a gig at United Ironworks, I thought I was set. Medical, dental, the works. 4 days later, green poison killed my insurance and then my parents. Some of the crew set up a camp in the Foundry, and we decided to keep the lights on and reconfigure the machines to make emergency survival stuff. Try to help people, you know? I guess the True Sons didn't like that. They killed most of us before I even knew what was happening. Apparently they don't think I'm much of a threat, but I've been keeping my eyes and ears open. And I swear to God I'm going to find a way to make them pay." And it's signed by Z, or Z, as I don't know why I'm saying Z. I'm not American, I'm from the UK, Z. So I'm no Division 2 lore expert. In fact, I actually probably know very little about the lore of this game. I know more now with the Division 2 than I did with the Division 1. I was completely oblivious in Division 1, and I made an effort to understand it more with the Division 2. But there are some people out there who know a lot about this. So if you guys know who Z could be, then please let me know. At this point, we know very little about the Foundry raid. We know it's a True Sons raid, and that's about it. There is some early concept art, and we know at least 2 exotics and 2 new gear sets are going to be tied to the raid. We don't know any more than that. I suspect we are going to learn more about it shortly, especially if the raid is due to come out within the next 5 weeks. I have put a poll on Twitter about the raid when it comes to matchmaking, and this is something that I want to talk about in a future video. So this is matchmaking on launch as opposed to what we had with Dark Hours, where we didn't have it for some time. That's something I want to talk about, and again, if you guys want to leave your comments to that down below, please do, because it's an interesting argument, and I think we're on a kind of almost on a 50-50 basis at this point. Next up, and I'm a little bit ashamed about this one actually, I can't believe I've only just stumbled across an article where it talks about how exotic farming works. Now this is invaluable, and I bet there's a lot of people that actually didn't know about this. This article was from Forbes. It was on April 14th, and it's titled, "You're probably farming exotics in the Division 2 wrong." Now this may have been covered by others, but I've literally only just come across this article, and I wanted to talk about it because I know there's going to be some people out there who didn't know this. So let's start. Now this particular paragraph says, "Previously, I was operating under the assumption that the data mined rates for targeted exotic drops were correct. 1% for normal, 3% for hard, 5% for challenging, and 7% for heroic. So in theory, if you run heroic reasonably well, you want to farm heroic for that 2% increase." Now, I was under the same assumption after seeing the data mine values on a Reddit thread some time ago, so there's no reason why you would look at that and go, well, that's, you know, what's going on. This is a bit confusing because I never assumed anything different to that. But it goes on to say, the catch, however, is that what the game does not tell you is that moving up to heroic gives you a chance to have other non-targeted exotics drop as well. Hence why you might see a drop and be very mad that it's not the one you wanted. Now, I'm not 100% sure if these final stats are correct, but I think of that 7% drop chance you have for an exotic in heroic, you have a 92% chance to get the targeted exotic you want, but an 8% chance to get a non-targeted exotic that you can get anywhere else that you may already have. So, what does this mean? Well, this essentially means if you are farming content for a targeted exotic, you're probably best off farming on challenging, because 1, there's no chance of being disappointed if an exotic drops and it's not the one you are farming for. You know, there is a 8% chance, if these figures are accurate, there's an 8% chance that that exotic that's going to drop on heroic is not the one you're targeting, and that would be, I've seen people doing this and it must be frustrating. And then in 2, it's only an extra 2% chance on heroic, which is significantly harder than playing on challenging content, especially if you're running as a solo player. So actually, because it's that much harder, it's probably less efficient as well. I hope this helps some of you guys out, because for me it certainly helped. I didn't know about this until, like I said, recently. What I will say is that it should never be more efficient to farm an easier difficulty to get the rarest loot. And I really implore the devs to look at this in future updates. This shouldn't work like this. Last but certainly not least, stealth nerfs. Now, I don't want to call the devs out at all because it's just not productive to do that, but I've seen reports of the motherly love named gloves getting a stealth nerf. Now, here's an image uploaded to Reddit of the named gloves after TU9. I don't actually have them, so I don't know for sure if this is the case, but I'm pretty sure it is. As you can see, there is 10% skill health, but before TU9, they were actually at 20%. Now, guys, you know, I've got to admit I'm a little bit dumbfounded by this nerf. I've reached out to the devs on Twitter and asked them for an explanation because I just don't get it. Skill health, especially line of sight skills like turrets and drones, for example, they're just very weak against NPCs right now. Not in terms of the damage they do, but in terms of the damage that they take. They get taken down so quickly, and yet a piece of gear which gives them that extra 20% health has now been nerfed by 50% with TU9. The only reason that I can see that they would do this is that they are planning to obviously balance NPCs, but then just put that nerf in when the balancing for NPCs comes into the game. I don't know, I'm confused. If any of you guys have got an explanation as to why the devs might have done this, please let me know. If I hear back from the devs for a good reason, then I will hit you up on the community post, but right now I've not had a response. Alright, that's it, guys. Thanks very much for watching today's video. I've got a few videos lined up. I've actually got a script I'm working on now in respect of player power and whether you are the sort of person that if you get too powerful, you leave the game. You don't play the game. It's actually quite an interesting topic. I do want to talk about raid matchmaking, among other things. So if you want to make sure that you're part of that conversation, then please subscribe to the channel. It does help me out. And with that said, guys, thanks for all your support. And until the next one, Epic out.